Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, we have now seen the first game of the Stanley Cup final. It was an absolute barn burner of a game. I believe they said on the broadcast last night, the first Stanley Cup final game to go to overtime since 2022, the Lightning Colorado. So we haven't seen one of those in a while. Like game one, we saw a comeback. We saw just incredible Stanley Cup final worthy hockey last night, and you got to hope that it's going to go several more games of that kind of game. But we're definitely going to be talking quite a bit about that later in the episode. But we do have some other news around the league to get to first, so I'm going to leave it up to you. What do you want to start with that we have on our list here?
To start off, let's just run through the kind of coaching news. We talked about it the previous week, and we said we're going to come back to it once we know for sure. One of the reported coaching hires that we had did happen, and that was Boston did in fact hire Marco Sturm as the new head coach for the Bruins. I'm happy with it. If I was a Boston fan, I think obviously it's not going to be probably as good as what you had, but it's not a terrible hiring.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh man, going into a situation like that is so rough. Just trying to live up to what Bruce Cassidy did and then Jim Montgomery. So you got absolutely huge shoes to fill there. But as far as what was out there, I do think Marco Sturm's, one of the better options. I think it's a good guy to at least try and give the reins to. And this is a team that, they've given up on two really good coaches. Like they are so okay moving on from you if they are not getting the results. So, give it all you got, Marco. But we'll see how long he lasts there. I mean, not like most coaches stay more than 2-3 years in one place in the NHL generally, but yeah, I think
I think so.
Very quickly they're going to realize higher up in the org, like we blew it with that firing, if they haven't already. I mean, fuck, the Blues ended up making the playoffs with Montgomery.
Yeah, he came in and was absolutely fantastic for them all season long. So, again, yeah, it's kind of what we said. Like, is it going to be as good as what they once had? No, just because you've had so many good coaches. But again, we've talked about, teams going to the different route of bringing in someone a bit newer and not just rerunning the same coaches over and over. So that's what Boston did. And you know what? Anytime that happens, I'm on board with it because we've seen newer coaches or guys that haven't been in the NHL finally get a shot, and they're great. They just have a lot of different perspective that they can bring to their team. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. There's not much really to dissect more until we see what the team looks like under him, but we can move on to the Penguins here because the Penguins also hired a new head coach. They hired Dan Muse as their next head coach. I believe this is one of the names that was being floated around. I think they had quite a few different ones that were kind of rumored, figured might end up getting picked up. So they ended up going with Dan Muse. I am not incredibly familiar with Dan Muse, so I'm not sure if, how much he's coached before. Just looking it up here. Looks like he was an assistant coach for 3 years in Nashville with the Preds, and then that was from 2017 to 2020. Then he actually didn't coach again until 2023, where he coached the last 2 seasons with the Rangers. So 2 teams that, back then the Preds were looking pretty solid. I guess he would have. I think he would have gone to a cup final, maybe even. With the Preds.
What did you say he's with the Preds?
2017-18 was his first season. Would that have been 1 year after?
No. Yeah, it would have been the year after they went to the cup final. This is I didn't even hear this name at all it went about anything with Pittsburgh, so this kind of came out of nowhere, and similar to the Marco Sturm thing.
It's
I
one
think
of the
more in
white names I
Pittsburgh's case,
saw,
like,
but it was one of those ones where it's like, these are a bunch of names rumored, and it's like a list of 10 people. So
yeah, and for Pittsburgh, I mean, the goal is I guess for every team, the goal is to make the playoffs, but for Pittsburgh, realistically, the playoffs aren't going to happen. So going with, again, someone new and seeing, kind of give him a chance and maybe, hey, this is your guy for the next, however long to replace a guy like Mike Sullivan, or, what happens there. It is worth noting that both with Pittsburgh and Boston, previous coaches there are going to the Rangers now as assistant coaches. Was it Joe Sacco was the interim coach for the Bruins? He signed today to be an assistant coach with the Rangers. And then David Quinn, funny enough, is going back to the Rangers. He spent the last year as an assistant coach with the Penguins. So they're going there and they're joining the Rangers there. So the Rangers make a very...
because the Rangers have Sullivan now, right?
Yeah. So he's kind of bringing in at least one guy that he knows and worked with in Pittsburgh. I don't know his relationship with Joe Sacco, but Rangers figure their stuff out, and now I guess it's just up to Boston and Pittsburgh to figure out, who's going to work alongside these guys. But overall, I'm decent hires for both teams. I think it's low risk, high reward, hirings for them.
Yeah. It's when you go and pick up a bunch of different guys, it's always hard to figure where it's going to go because, obviously it's not coaching, but, something like you saw in Nashville last year with their free agent signings, you bring in a bunch of guys, they were all good on their respective teams, but you bring them all in, the chemistry wasn't really there. So, you could be building a super team or it could go sideways. So we'll see once the season starts. It's really all you can say about coaching changes in the offseason. Unless it's like, an obvious good pickup, like St. Louis just dropping Bannister and immediately picking up Montgomery, because coaches like that don't come along very often on the open market.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We can keep pushing forward here. The awards?
Yes, the awards.
I'll let you kick off the first one there, because you're probably pretty pumped about that one.
Yeah, I do just want to throw out. So we talked last episode about Barkov winning the King Clancy and the Selke, and how cool it was. They had the kids from the hospital he does a lot of charity work at come and present him with the trophy in front of the team. It was a nice moment. I kind of thought that was just something the Panthers org did, or the charity did, or something. It looks like the NHL is putting some legitimate effort into these productions and showing these guys getting the awards and making a spectacle of it. And this is so much better than doing some award show that is I don't like saying it about many things, but it's often cringe. Like, I don't like throwing the word around. I think it's overused, but a lot of the time, the guy does bad impressions and makes jokes, and they're hockey players just hanging out. They don't really care. But a lot of these have been good. The Barkov one was good. For those who didn't hear, of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nikita Kucherov won his second Ted Lindsay Award over the past few days. He was awarded it by Victor Hedman and the rest of the Lightning. They had him go into the GM's office. Breezeball was telling him, he was keeping it a secret. He was telling a fake story about you could fly to LA for the awards show, which I think they are still doing an awards show. I've heard that they're only awarding the Hart and the Vezina there, and I keep hearing that, but like, why? That would be crazy if they're doing it for 2 awards and then a bunch of the other awards are being handed out now. So I feel like that's not true. I feel like they're probably just not doing it because, like, surely it doesn't bring in a ton of revenue. Nobody's jumping to sponsor that super hard. But anyway, he's telling him the fake story. Cooch goes to leave the office, and then the whole team's waiting there, and that was a really cool moment. He looked borderline unrecognizable. He was like clean shaven that day, like he barely looked like Kucherov. And he also got a haircut recently, so he like looked rather different in the video. But they did a really good job with that. And then, do you want to talk about the video that went out today, if you've seen it, for the second award?
Yeah, so I saw this one. I didn't see the Kucherov one, so I'll have to go and end up watching that after the fact and see that. But yeah, for the other award that was given out, that being the Bill Masterton Trophy. The Bill Masterton, again, we've kind of made our thoughts very well known on here about it. Kind of a weird award, but still kind of meaningful.
Comes from a good place, but
just a
better execution.
Yeah. So earlier today, Sean Monahan was awarded the Bill Masterton Trophy. In what was a terrific video. Because that was this morning, right?
Yes. Yeah, because he was awarded it by Meredith Goudreau, the late Johnny Goudreau's wife.
Yeah, and I guess trying to find the name of Sean Monahan's wife, because I know that she was in on this whole thing, because Monahan was told, we're doing like family photos today, so he kind of got
so he comes out with his
for it,
his picture day combed hair and everything.
Yeah, but instead it was actually to look a little bit more presentable for this video and to be awarded the Bill Masterton Trophy again for just what a warrior he was this season, obviously dealing with the death of Johnny, and who's kind of like his best friend in the whole reason he even went to Columbus in the offseason to begin with. And
despite all that, leader on that career highs and like everything, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he had a terrific season, became a integral part of that Blue Jackets team and their leadership group. So to be able to do that and play the way he did this season, despite what happened just before the season kind of kicked off for the Blue Jackets and the whole league. Absolutely incredible for Monahan. I think it's well deserved. And again, another thing of kind of like, this is better than maybe getting just an award ceremony, and you give a little.
It's better exposure for the league too. Personal, like these videos can be shared easily. I mean, it's cool if you're into hockey, but like you might actually watch some of these, right? Like the guy gets jump scared by his whole team with the trophy and stuff, like that. That's so much easier to share around social media and get the word out than, showing whoever, Joe Schmo, stand up on the stage and go, these are the finalists. And now the winner. And then it's announced. And then he walks up like, I get it. They do it for the Oscars. They do it for this, that, and the other. But like, it's kind of outdone. You have to make it unique somehow. And I feel like that's not really the NHL's gig. That's very few sports leagues' thing to be unique in that fashion. So I think they've been doing great with these, and I will say with the Monahan one, I got freaking jump scared myself because partway through, obviously, the Masterton in general is a very emotionally charged trophy, and especially this year's winner, Monahan. It's like several hockey fans have been brought to tears at least a dozen times this year over different tributes and things like that. And this was no exception. And when, Meredith starts explaining it to Monahan about this year, and they both start choking up, and Monahan's wife comes in and she's choking up, they start playing this sad music, which wasn't a bad choice. It was really loud. It was very loud, at least on the phone I was watching it on. And I was like, it felt like when you're like one of those shows like Love is Blind, where they transition to a new scene and they just blare music really loud. It felt kind of awkward that way.
I don't know if I just didn't notice that, or maybe that wasn't the case.
It wasn't like bad. It just felt like it was almost more funny and broke the tension for me, if anything. Like it wasn't bad. It was just like watch it. When I was watching, I was like, I was not expecting it.
Yeah, no, I'll maybe have to go back and see, because I didn't notice that, but maybe I'm just built different for that type of stuff. But yeah, all in all,
built different for ignoring the music.
Nikita Kucherov and Sean Monahan for winning these awards again, getting to receive them in a pretty unique and cool fashion. So happy for them in that aspect, and again, good on the league
as winning the awards go. Way. What do you think about that? Obviously, been glazing
I'm fine with both
the way they produced it, but like I think Sean Monahan kind of had to be the only choice for the Masterton. Again,
I
we
mean, I
don't
would have
love
understood
comparing
if they
it,
went
but
with Landeskog, but my pick was Monahan. I thought he definitely deserved it.
it
Landeskog's
would have
going
been
to play
so
next
weird
year.
if
He's
like
obviously going to
Fleury
win
won
it
it.
next year.
Like,
So
yeah, yeah, and Kucherov winning the Lindsay. I his video was actually really good because like the lie that Breezeball was telling him in there was that they want to fly you out if you're a finalist to LA. He said if they want to fly you out, but now they're giving you the choice to potentially stay here. And so he was asking like, do you want to stay here? Do you want to go there? And then Kucherov's like, they want me to fly out if I win a trophy. And Breezeball's like, yes. And Kuch is like, okay, so I'm not flying out then. He says I'm not winning a trophy. And Breezeball's like, well, if you're gonna win one though. And Kuch goes, yeah, I'm not winning one. Like he's convinced. He's beyond convinced that he's not winning. So when he comes out of the office and they present him the trophy, I think you can clearly see on his face this means a lot to him, but I think it meant a lot more that he won the Ted Lindsay. I think he is convinced he will never win a Hart Trophy again. Like I think obviously there's the whole Russian player thing, there's the whole All-Star game thing. Like some people don't appear to like to vote for him. Who knows how many people that is? Maybe it's a loud 2% of the voting people. Maybe it's a lot of them. But the fact that he got the award voted on by the players, because the Ted Lindsay Award is the most outstanding player of the year, voted on by the Players Association, by the players themselves. So I think the fact that that's the award he got is perfect for him.
I would agree.
And I love the pick. I think all three finalists would have been a good pick. I don't think there would have been too much complaining about any of them. But
yeah, there's no bad option. There's no bad option with either one really at the end of the day. And again, I think both of these are fine. Winners of, I think it's well deserved. So yeah, all I can really say is congrats to him, and yeah, good on him.
Yeah. But I think that's pretty much all I have on the two trophies. Congrats to the winners, and they've done these 3 days in a row now. I believe it was Barkov, Kucherov, Monahan, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I think there should be one coming out at some point today. I'm kind of assuming now they're going to do like one a day.
Monahan was today.
Oh, Monahan was today. Sorry, you're right.
So potentially tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending on if they're planning on doing one day or how many they're planning on doing, I don't fully know with it. So I just kind of get surprised by it. I'm like, oh, here's this, and then watch whatever video is it and all that. So
I just went online to check if there had been a new one, despite Monahan's coming out today. This is from 1 hour ago. This is from the official X account for the Calgary Tower. Tomorrow night, we will be lighting up orange and blue for the 25th annual Calgary Brain Tumor Foundation Walk. We're proud to support such an important cause. This part is in italics. I didn't even know you could do italics in a tweet. Any correlation to other uses of these colors around this time is, of course, purely coincidental. For those who didn't hear, last night, orange and blue lit up was the CN Tower for the colors of the Edmonton Oilers because they're in the finals. I guess these are the colors for the Calgary Brain Tumor Foundation. And the Calgary Tower doesn't want to be misconstrued as cheering for the Oilers. That's a pretty good tweet.
Yeah. I didn't see. Well, I heard rumors of Calgary doing that, but now actually knowing why, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Did you see much of the discourse about the CN Tower one?
None.
I was very shocked looking online. It wasn't a ton of people, but out of everybody's reactions I saw, I was very surprised how one-sided it was. It's clearly, Toronto, Edmonton. Canada. Like, the line is very obvious. I was surprised. Probably at least 80% of the people I saw talking about it were like, "This is disgraceful. You fly your team's colors, or you don't fly any at all. Who cares about Canada?" Like, I get the sentiment, and I definitely get it for Calgary fans. Is there a rivalry between Edmonton and Toronto?
I don't think so.
Like, there really shouldn't be. Like, if you want to argue, Matthews, McDavid, like, fine. Like, you got a bit of a superstar rivalry, but they're not really rivals. They're in different conferences. Like, it felt weird how many Toronto fans were like, "This is disgusting. This is a travesty." And it's like, okay, first of all, I don't know if the CN Tower, I don't think they're owned by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, but like, people were acting like it was the freaking Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. Like, people were losing it online. I was like, I don't know. This feels obvious. There should have been a lot more people upset when they made it red and blue when the Montreal Canadiens made the finals in 2021. Like,
they did they?
Because the Canadiens are a way bigger rival than Edmonton. They play each other twice a year.
One of those things of hockey fans, especially fans of Canadian teams, basically being like, we want the cup to come back to Canada, but we only want it to be our team. We want to be the one to do it.
Yeah, it came across that way. Well, like, even then, Toronto got eliminated by your opponent, by the Oilers' opponents, right? Like, I can't imagine there's that many Toronto fans where their second or third favorite team is the Panthers, right? Like,
no, but maybe it's one of those things of like being like, oh, we went to Game 7 with Florida. They won the cup. If we beat them, we're right there, as opposed to being like, maybe we beat Florida, but now, we got to be better than Edmonton type of thing. I don't know. Hockey fans are weird in what
it felt weird. I expected a very good mix of people being like, "This is blasphemous," and people being like, "This is cool. Go Canada." It was more one-sided on the team side that didn't like it, and I was just a little shocked seeing that.
For it to be more one-sided than the others.
But maybe those are just the comments that stuck out.
Who knows?
Anyway, we can move on here to
we got signings.
2 signings that went down in the past couple of days. I know one of these guys is like your favorite player in the world, so I'll let you start off with that. You love this guy.
I do. I really do. I'm assuming you're talking. Well, I like both, actually. But the first one, is we did kind of talk about it, or the possibility of it, not too long ago. But Brock Nelson did resign with Colorado. You put this original stuff in here, so I just kind of copied it. So I'm assuming this is the contract, right? I didn't actually look at it before we started.
I'll double check it here, but I'm pretty sure it is. I think it was still kind of pending confirmation on the
clause.
Trade clause stuff, but I'm pretty sure the AAV is all correct.
Okay, so Brock Nelson, 3 years, 7.5 is the AAV with Colorado. And I think that leaves Colorado, I think they said, with like less than $2 million in cap space now. Because they only had like 8 in a bid or something.
$230,000 in cap space.
Oh, fuck, even worse. Wow, that's unfortunate.
Jimmy Vesey, Yoel Kiviranta, Jonathan Drouin, all pending UFAs. Ryan Lindgren, Eric Johnson. Sam Malinsky's an RFA. I don't know how important that one is to him.
So with this, I expect there's going to be a move of some sort to clear up some cap space, whether that's a Josh Manson or a Sam Girard or something to open up a little bit of money, because that was kind of Colorado's biggest strength, was having good depth, and you can't really fill out your depth much if you have no cap space to work with. Do you have the clause of the deal here?
It still says the same clause. That's what I have written down. It does still have a little thing saying the contract details have not yet been confirmed, but it's been about 24 hours.
So this is most likely what it is, which is a full no trade clause in the first. Full no trade clause in the first 2 years, and then a 15-team no trade clause in the third year.
So you can trade him when he's expiring. Makes tons of sense.
Yeah, you get a good, solid second line center behind McKinnon for at least the next 2 years. And then if it's still working in the third year, run with it. If not, you're able to get out from this contract and move in a different direction. So 7.5 is a bit
It's a bit
much.
high.
It's a bit high. But again,
especially for a semi-destination place, maybe not, a destination like Florida, but at the same time, it's a very strong team. Like the team is the destination.
But maybe a full off season there will help. Obviously, didn't go the greatest from kind of the trade deadline till Game 7 in the playoffs. But again, it's like we talked about before with other guys. Maybe just a full off season and fully settling down and whatnot. Like Nelson could be easily a 35 to 40 goal guy on this team. So, if you're getting that, like if you're getting 35 and 35 from him, I would say it's worth it. But we'll have to wait and see.
I so get what they were doing with it, but 7.5 for Brock Nelson, 5.25 for Charlie Coyle. I would trade Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle for Rantanen any day of the week, and that's the same amount of money that he was asking for.
Yeah, allegedly.
It's allegedly
because we still don't know. It's always going to be the two sides, so we'll just always say allegedly with anything. I would agree though if it was 12.
Yeah, it's
still just.
It's a bit rough, but at the same time, I do also notice it is that no trade clause and modified no trade at the end. It is not those with a no move clause. So I don't really foresee it with Brock Nelson. I don't think he's going to fall off that steep even at 33, but it does leave them open if he's really falls off to, pulling New York Rangers, and you can send him down to the minors, which means he will clear waivers, which means somebody will probably pick up a guy like Brock Nelson. Like, I doubt that's going to happen, but maybe in year 2 or 3, if it's looking weird and the trade's not out there or he's still in no trade territory, it's a possibility. We've seen it now.
Yeah, it's an option.
It's weird. It feels like that's one of those loopholes that people like us would only ever talk about. It would never actually happen. And then the Rangers did it.
Yeah. They did it perfectly.
They did it, yeah. Well, they did it perfectly for the cap, but yeah, the locker room didn't appear to love it.
And then the other signing going to a team in the Metro here. The Philadelphia Flyers signed Noah Cates to a 4-year, $4 million AAV extension. Yeah, it's a good. I mean, it's a lot for a bottom 6 guy when looking at it. But then you take into account, the good defensive play, the penalty kill, whatnot. But it's fine. Philly's not crunched for money. They've got lots to spend, lots to put out there.
Is he playing that low in their lineup?
I think so. I don't know for sure, but
because if that's the case, there's no way. Because they're not a great team, and his stats look pretty fucking good for a depth guy. If he's well, they have him listed as first line center on Daily Faceoff. I don't know if that's true, but they got Sean Couturier allegedly. Okay, the second line's clearly better than the first. They got it laid out weird here, but holy fuck! The last game of the season, the lines were in a blender. None of this can be used. That's Owen Tippett on the third line. Like, there's so much shit going on. This guy doesn't even have a number. They don't even know who Devin Kaplan is. But Noah Cates, 3 years ago, all 82 games, 38 points. Last 2 years ago, he must have got injured or something, only played 59 games, but still 18 points in 59 games, so maybe a little lower pace. And then this year, back up to 37 points in 78 games. A +3 in both the years where he played the majority of the season. So they're not a great team. He's a plus player. He's knocking on the door of 40 points in 2 of his 3 seasons in the NHL. He's only 26 years old, so, this will take him till when he is 40. Not 40, 30. I like it. The cap's going up. I think this is a good deal. I think if they could have got him for longer term on a similar deal, it might have been nice, but I imagine it probably got more expensive.
I would assume. Yeah, I would assume so with these kind of deals.
Yeah, and looks like there's absolutely no trade protection on this deal, which I mean, if you can move a guy on a contract like this, like as a depth piece, like with retaining half only brings it to $2 million. A consistent 35-point guy for $2 million, especially with a little bit of term. If you move him with 2 years left in 2 different years, like that'll probably get you first.
Potentially depends on the level of play. I think still.
Yeah.
But if it stays where it's at least at the bare minimum, then yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Given the age, given how decent the contract can look, and again, it's also that kind of defensive play that boosts that value for me as well.
Yeah, he's putting up good points and with the good defensive play. Also, 235 career games played for Noah Cates. He plays on a semi-physical Philly team under Tortorella. 30 penalty minutes. That's not a lot.
Responsible with the stick, not doing dumb stuff. Those guys are
You'll love to
valuable.
see it.
Those guys are valuable to me, and Philly sees
One of those guys coaches love.
And again, if people are like, oh, it's a bit of an overpay, who cares? Philly's got money to spend. You'd rather spend a little bit more on a guy that's been loyal there, a guy that you already know and works in your system, as opposed to having to overpay someone in free agency that may or may not work out.
Yeah.
Like, give me the guy that you know. And
yeah, even if he wasn't that responsible defensively, like 37 points in 2 separate seasons out of his 3, that's pretty good production for $4 million. And it's not like he's playing with a great supporting cast in Philly right now. I don't think he was playing with Michkov or Tippett for most of the year. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. I think maybe we'll, with an extension, we'll see him in a bigger role with them next year. Maybe he'll consistently stay in the top 6.
I'd like to see him get the opportunity. I don't know if it'll happen, but Philly's gonna be one of those weird teams with a lot of stuff going on, because you're in that spot where you're not, especially now with Michkov and Konechny and so on. You're not bad enough to be getting like a top draft pick, right? Like I think they're picking 6 this year. That's as good as you're gonna get. So trying to make the team better, basically.
Maybe.
I don't think they can get worse. I don't think they get worse though.
No,
because
I think they're in a position where they're a team that they have a little bit too much to tear it down. I don't
exactly.
think
That's what I'm saying. That's why you got to try and just win with what you got. You can't, you're not going to get one of those top, 3 draft.
I think they could, but not by losing, because they have 3 first-rounders this year, and they have 4 second-rounders this year as well. If they already have like the 6th overall, you might be able to persuade one of those teams to move you up a little bit.
Potentially, but I think if you're Philly, you got to decide, do you want that, 3rd overall pick, 4th overall pick, or do you want the 6th and then the other 2 later ones? Because realistically, probably to move up, you're going to have to just use all 3 of those picks. And so then it's kind of...
So,
what do they value more? Do they want quality?
Normally, I would definitely agree. But we've got some weird shit going on with the draft this year, because the Islanders won the draft lottery, and so did Utah. If you told me next year they make the playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I might not put money on it, but they've got a good squad there. The fact that they have the 4th overall, if you can swap the 6th for the 4th and attach, a solid current NHL player that will help them now, and then they still have just a 6th overall rolling around in their pocket, I could see Utah moving down and Philly jumping up and then making sure they get one of those.
Depends on the
top
player,
end.
though.
That's also true. It always depends
on the player.
On what
it would have to be someone young enough. If I'm Utah, I'm just picking there. You're at a point now where you don't need the quantity, you just need the quality, and getting a good player, whoever they go with the 4th overall, I like that more for them. But again, we'll see with Philly. I think they're gonna have a busy offseason though, and this is this Kate Manning is the start of it.
What about a guy? What about something like the 4th overall pick for the 6th overall pick and Bobby Brink. 41 points last year. He's a right winger, 23 years old. He's an RFA at the end of his deal. Philly doesn't really need him. They already got Michkov and Owen Tippett on the right side.
It's not bad, actually.
Or sorry, Konechny on the right side, Tippett's on the left.
It's not a bad deal, actually. It's not a bad offer. If I'm Utah, actually, I would consider
I feel like that works for both sides, depending on how much they really like Bobby Brink. Maybe that's a guy they want to keep.
I bet if I'm Utah, though, I just say no, and I say give me an extra third or something, and Philly buckles. Get an extra pick.
Yeah, probably.
Because if you're the team trading down, you've always got that little extra bit of leverage, so you can always squeeze out one extra little thing.
And honestly, they've got 3 picks in the first round. They've got 4 picks in the second. You don't mind giving up their one of their 2 fifths or their 3rd round pick. Like, it's not that bad. It's not enough to axe a deal that would get you a player the likes of, Porter Martone or something like that. One of those guys up the top.
After the top 2. This draft's going to be weird. I still don't fully know what teams are going to go with, but
I think teams are so scared of Higgins at this point. I feel like he's going to drop like crazy. He's going to be one of those guys where like we're sitting at home watching and going, okay, but now they have to take him. He doesn't get picked. Okay, but now this team would be crazy not to take him, and he doesn't get picked for like 3 more teams while we keep saying it. Like, I feel like he's going to go like 8 or 9. I feel like teams are just afraid of him because nobody wants to go for the guy who, he's the guy who's dropping in stock, and nobody wants to grab him and then him be the bust.
I don't think so, because again, it's not like he's a bad player though. It was always just the expectations
exactly
were unrealistic. Like
I think that he's going to be a top 5 player from this draft. I think he's just not going to go in that area.
I don't know if he falls past Nashville.
No,
that's the thing. Nashville's the one that I'm like, I could see a lot of other teams, but Nashville, you just take the best player. You don't need to take someone based on a certain thing. You just go best player available, most skill.
I have no idea how Barry Trotz thinks as a GM. He could do anything, and I would.
Yeah,
he could do anything, and I wouldn't be surprised. Or, I guess you could look at it as anything he does will surprise me.
Yeah, the way Barry Trotz operates, could be a completely different direction from what I'm thinking, and I'd be like, all right, that's the way Barry operates.
But
we should move on.
Good extension, good for the Flyers, good for Gates.
Yeah, exactly, and good on Brock Nelson. A lot more than I would have given him, but hey, you know what? He's earned it at this point in his career.
Yeah,
and I hope it works out better next year in Colorado for him.
He's got some good players who will be passing him the puck. So you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me we're gonna sit here going, it's a bit rich, and then we're gonna get 10 games into next season and go, okay, fuck, never mind, it was good.
Yeah, well, and
he's gonna have 11 points 11 goals in his first 7 games. He's gonna lead the league in goals, and we're gonna go, okay, all right, you made your point. You made your point.
And what's
Colorado.
The thing with Colorado since they won the cup that we've been saying, right? You lost Nazem Kadri. You need to fill that second line center spot. That's been a big gaping hole since they've won the cup. Now you've got that filled at least. And again, I do expect them to clear up some money elsewhere. So there will probably be a trade or 2 from Colorado before free agency to open up a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it going to be?
Brock Nelson right-handed?
Brock? Actually, he will start off the year very well. He always goes crazy in the month of October. That's why his nickname is Brocktober. So,
oh shit,
there's that for Colorado. So the contract will actually look really good to start the season off. He is left-handed.
He is left-handed.
I thought he was right-handed.
Something about him screams right-handed to me, but I guess not.
About Brock Nelson just screams right-handed. Eh?
I thought he was going to be on the first power play unit on that left-hand side as the one-timer, but
he probably will be on the top power play unit.
I think he's probably on second. Because obviously, Necas, McKinnon, Makar, that's like untouchable. Mm-hmm. I think Landeskog probably takes that right wing spot. I think they're going to want him back there. Like, he looked
Yeah,
good.
but it
He's got
depends.
another offseason to train. It depends how he plays, but I think
Depends
they
what level
probably want
he's
him.
at, though. Right? Like, is he a guy
Yeah,
that is going to be good to go and log, those 20 minutes all regular season, or is it kind of now need to be not as much? But on the power play, I guess you're not really. You're kind of more standing around a lot of guys more than anything. So.
yeah. I imagine he'll be kind of like flexing between the first and second even strength line, and then on that top unit. And then the final spot on the power play, they have Lehkonen listed. I believe him. I mean, wouldn't make sense to have Nelson there on the
where they're at in the
left-handed.
playoffs. It'll be. We'll see what happens with it.
Yeah,
I do expect him to have a good season though. Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah,
Game
Stanley Cup Finals. Can I say, as hockey fans, we deserve this? We deserved the level of hockey we got last night. That was so good. Like, that. I got to imagine that was stressful as fuck for fans of either team. But man, as a neutral fan, and not a neutral fan without skin in the game, I do want the Oilers to win because I don't like the Panthers. But man, was that a fun game. Just neither team dominated too hard. It was close. It even went to overtime. We had a comeback. We saw great plays from both sides. Like, oh, that was good ass hockey to watch. That game felt a lot like really Game 7 of their matchup last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was so close all the way
through. It really did. Both teams, you could see the strengths and weaknesses of both teams. First period, I thought Edmonton kind of got off to a bit of a hot start. Then Florida kind of came back and took the lead. Florida kind of ran with it in the second period, and Edmonton was able to hold them off. And then third period, Edmonton was able to, again, like we've talked about, another comeback coming from behind, and something that Florida hasn't seen fully happen yet. And it finally did. We talked about Florida and, the whole, when under Paul Maurice, when leading after a period, they win. And we said Edmonton can do it. We know they're capable of doing it, but we needed to see it before we're like, okay, yeah, we know they can now. And they go out there game 1 and pull it off. So, and I mean, Florida had their chances to continue to build on their lead. They had chances to, they had almost a whole overtime they could have won. Got into some penalty troubles, puck over glass, and they lose. And again, if I'm Florida, I'm not worried. Like you're looking at it, it's like, man, game we could have easily won. We lost it, but you could have easily won. And if you're Edmonton, it's like, a game that if you're any other team, you don't win. Like no team pulls off a comeback and executes in the end against Florida. And if you're Edmonton, you can sit there and say, hey, we did. So now if you got the lead, you can run with it. If you're behind, you can come back and beat this team. And to have that feeling and know that right after game 1, that's a great spot to be in. If you're Edmonton, like that's a great feeling to have.
Like, you can't let this Florida team get up on you because they're too good of a team to come back and beat if they go up 2-0 in the series or something. So being able to get this first win is absolutely massive. I wouldn't be shocked if Thomas Nosek didn't get a wink of sleep last night. Oh, taking a delay of game like that. Dude, I was freaking like sitting there like Wallman was giving him the business after he took the penalty. Do you see all the pictures of him going up and he was like laughing right in his face? Yeah. When he was doing that live, I thought it was funny, and then immediately I was like, he better shut up, because the refs, the last thing they want to do is decide the game. There was no penalties in the third, hardly any, at least. There might have been 1 or 2, like none in the last 10 minutes. And this was the first penalty of overtime, and it was with like 2 minutes left. They didn't want to call anything, but you have to call that one. That's the blatant rule. That's a yes or a no if it happened. There's no way around it, unless you can see maybe it kind of hit the glass. This one was obvious. There was no way to avoid it. I wouldn't have been shocked if the refs were like, unsportsmanlike Wallman, because and that would have been dumb, right? But like, the refs don't want to decide the game. If you give them a reason to be like 4-on-4 in OT instead of a power play, they might take it because they hate calling penalties that late. So, like, for a second, I was like, he better chill a little bit.
Just better shut up. I do want to ask you something because because in the area I know a lot of Oilers fans, and I mentioned this to an Oilers fan, and they disagreed.
Okay.
But I want to get your thoughts. So I told him, I said, if you're Edmonton, like if you're a player of the team, especially Stuart Skinner, you're probably more happy with this win than if you went out and beat them 3-0, 4-0. Because 100%. I think it's so good for Edmonton to already know, like, we can come back. If we're down in a game, doesn't matter. We can do what other teams haven't, and we can win. And if you're Stuart Skinner, you're sitting there like, I thought he was solid. I'm not going to be like, oh, Skinner was great, won the game, but I'm not going to be like, oh, he was awful. Like, he was average, decent. And if you're
what Skinner, we've been saying for 5 years, Edmonton needs average goaltending consistently, and they'll win the cup. We've been saying literally that.
Not only that, but if you're
Skinner, they need the goalie to not sell out the game for them. That's all.
But if you're Skinner, you're sitting there like, I didn't ball out. I didn't have a great game, but we won. You look at his recent games, and he's been putting up shutouts. And it's like, first of all, it makes it easier for the players to play in front of you if the goalie's hot, no doubt. But you're sitting there like, I don't need to stand on my head. I don't need to only allow one goal for us to win. Like, I can go out there, have, not like he sucked and it was easy goals for us again. Like, Florida definitely had to work for their goals for sure. But you're sitting there like, I just have to do this. I don't need to stand on my head and be the best goalie. The
900 goaltending
got me. I've got
enough.
them. So, but again, maybe it's just because if you're a fan of the Oilers, maybe you're just like, just go out there and whoop them game one, and
who wouldn't love to see it?
Dominance and So from a fan perspective, I get it, but as kind of a neutral, like I'm
was more fun as a neutral, and I guess the best way to look at it for what you're asking is what win would the coach most want? And this is exactly what Knobloch would have wanted. You need to break that 30-0. They are now 30-1 in the playoffs over the last 3 years under Paul Maurice, when leading after the end of the second or first period. Like, you beat that, and that's the game that you lost last year in Game 7. That close, gritty game that came down to the wire, that's the game you won. You just did it. You can do it now. Now you can go. You just have to make sure you don't have any of those games where they beat you, because that you can go out there and blow them up for 7 goals in a game. You're freaking Edmonton. Like, there are some games like that, but these are the close games that Florida wins constantly. Well, and they just got beat at their own game. Like Carolina shut them out 3-0, but they got beat the other 4 games. Like that win doesn't mean as much. That means Florida had an off night. If you put up 8 or 9 goals, that means Florida played bad and you played well. If you win this game, Florida played some of the best hockey they could, and it wasn't enough to beat you. Like, so that's what it means.
It's not to take anything away from Edmonton's win, because I thought Edmonton was I thought Edmonton was really good. I thought, second period was a bit rough, but first, third, and overtime, I thought they actually controlled the majority of the game. You run the simulation of this exact game 10 times. 9 out of 10 times, and again, no disrespect to Edmonton, Florida wins.
Really?
Biggest reason Florida lost for me, what was like their biggest strength last year, was that pairing of Ekblad and Forsling. Just so good defensively, so good in their own end, and just neutralizing that top end talent, along with guys, along with like Barkov, Reinhart, and the rest of the guys. Ekblad played 33 minutes and 2 seconds. Forsling played 32 minutes, 35 seconds. Both were a -2. And in the advanced stats charts, it's not even close. They were by far the 2 worst players on Florida by a huge margin. Like, they had a horrible game. And that's usually their strength, is that pairing and just shutting down the top guys. And it's credit due to Edmonton's firepower, their offense up front, their weapons. But we've seen
they got some great games out of guys all throughout the lineup too. Freaking Jake Wallman had a career game. Like, he played so well. He had so many important blocks, so many important rushes. Like, they had Podkolzin looked great. Podkolzin scored their second goal Arvidsson took a good shot, that he bowls through two guys that are each half a foot taller than him, and he pushes through so that he can screen the goalie. He turns around, he gets out of the way as soon as the shot is taken, perfectly timed. Like, he scored that goal in my mind. I was so impressed by that play.
Mhm.
Like, they got some great performances. Honestly,
it's not
you run
to
it
take-
back 10 times. I think it's like 5-5. Like, I think that is a
maybe,
close game.
but you look at it and they're a -2, and it doesn't even include Edmonton's overtime goal because that doesn't count. But even if they have an average game, they probably stop one of those two that they're out there for, and then it's a 3-2 game. And again, we know Florida's usually pretty good about holding on to those. But that's great for Edmonton if you can go out there game one and just like destroy and beat down that great defensive pairing that Florida's relied so heavily on through the last two playoff runs, the last regular season. Like, to whoop them, like it was just, I was like, man, this is just brutal for Ekblad and Forsling, and Edmonton's just got to keep rolling with that. And if you're Florida, you look at it, it's most of your game you should be happy with, you should be okay with, but it's that Ekblad Forsling pairing that's like needs to step it up and have a great game in game two, because again, if you're the top guys, you're the guys relied on the most, you have to run with it. You can't shelter their minutes because you're scared to put them out there. Those are your guys, and you need them to figure it out, especially at this stage now. It's for Florida, I did like, though, that up until the overtime winner, their penalty kill was perfect, 0 for 3. I think you like that, especially against this Edmonton power play that can be so deadly. And the last thing is, we are comparing the two, like both teams' lineups, and we got to that third pair, and I said I really liked the addition of Nate Schmidt even more than what they had with OEL last year. Nate Schmidt goes out there, 2 assists, and was very noticeable in the offensive zone. That's kind of the area he thrives in more. And I thought he looked really, really good. And
he had a good game.
Just kind of further proved my point of, like, he's a great player to have on that third pair. So thanks for Nate Schmidt for proving me right there. And maybe he listened and was like, yeah, you know what? People believe in me. And he had a hell of a game.
Yeah. Kasperi Kapanen is another player that was very noticeable. I'm actually not sure if it was Kapanen or Podkolzin out there for the Arvidsson goal. But that was...
It was Podkolzin.
It was Podkolzin? Okay.
It was. Yeah.
They both played incredible. Perry with what an assist on that game winner as well. Like, they got great performances out of so many guys on top of, obviously, the Draisaitl and the McDavid. Like, man, both teams just balled out so hard. That was so fun. The only thing that could have gone better for Edmonton in that game is if they scored that game winner 5-on-5. And it wasn't a delay of game. Because in the future, you're in that same situation, you're not going to force Florida to take... You can't consistently force a team going to their third straight final to take a delay of game. Like, that's not really something you're going to replicate. So you would have liked to maybe score that 5-on-5, but like that's fantasy booking the absolute perfect win, and like this 99% of that. So I think they've got a lot to like, but both of these teams
have a lot to like.
Yeah, both of these teams went down. For the Oilers, it was in the first series. For Florida, it was the second round. They've both gone down 0 for 2 in their first 2 games of those series. And they came back to win, obviously. They're both here. So, like, even if Edmonton wins the next one, the series is far from over. Far from over. These teams are... Either team could reverse sweep the other. They're both so good. Like, it is not over until the cup, the final buzzer goes and the cup's awarded.
I did like Sam Bennett's game again. 2 goals, continues to add to his lead in the playoffs with 12 goals now in the playoffs. Like, a dude that's on an expiring deal, he is going to get paid, whether it's with Florida or someone else. Second thing,
I think he's going to have the worst contract in the league in 2 to 3 years.
No, because I do expect him to stay with Florida, and it'll be a relatively decent contract.
If that's the case, then
I don't think he
probably
goes to the market in the end. People are like, oh, he's going to free agency. He doesn't want to leave Florida. Like, he he wants to stay there. They gave him a chance when
sure.
things were down, and he's turned into one of the better power forwards in the league, and he's just happy to be winning there and with the group
Yeah.
there. So
It really depends how much they value those, because like, Stamkos wanted to stay in Tampa, right? But when other guys handed you a big bag with dollar signs on it, I mean, like if somebody offers him like 7 years at 10 mil, it's like, I mean, how do you not?
well, yeah, but he would have to go to free agency first to get that offer. Like he would have to
Exactly.
be like not officially signing with Florida and open to leaving. And I don't know if he is. But Sam Bennett 2 goals, second one. Leon Draisaitl 2 goals. With the overtime winner. When we were going into the playoffs, we were talking about how Leon Draisaitl, similar to Ovechkin, did not have a overtime winner in the playoffs. And Leon Draisaitl's got 3 now. Getting the game-winning goal in overtime in Game 3 against LA, Game 2 against Vegas, and now in the Stanley Cup Final. So in the span of one playoff run, he's gone from 0 all the way up to 3. And if I believe correctly, he's got 3 of their 4, because Kapanen got the last one.
Kapanen almost had one
beat
tonight or last night. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When he split the D and he got in there, he just hit the outside of the net. Man, if he scored that there, the place would have lost their mind.
Would have went nuts. I do got to say with this, again, it's one of those ones where this is as close of a game as you could ask for. Maybe not if you're a fan of one of the teams, but just from a neutral perspective, both teams could have easily won. It was really nice to see Matthias Ekholm get his first goal since coming back on the board to tie the game. That was huge for Edmonton, obviously, as that was the goal that forced overtime in the end.
Was it even his first goal since he came back?
Yeah,
I thought he might have scored in the in his other game.
No, yeah, he didn't have one against Dallas. I think he had an assist, but yeah, I just, again, both teams are really good. A lot to like with both teams, and I hope to just see a lot of the same as the series goes on, because again, it's a series it's going to go the distance, because these two teams are just so evenly matched. And again, if you're Edmonton, you know what, to be able to pull out a close one here, like, you need that. That's what you struggled with at the start of the series last year. You don't go down 3-0, you probably win the cup. I'm not going to say you for sure do, but there's a very good chance you do. And so to get off to a lead here and at least make sure that it's 1-1 at the bare minimum going into Florida, you got to take that and be happy with that.
Yeah. This, I could sit here for another hour and glaze this game. It was so fun to watch. Yeah, I hope the rest of the series holds up to it. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the next game.
We deserve this as hockey fans. Watching this game, you just kind of look at it, it's like, this was always the final we were going to get. There was a lot of other good teams in the playoffs, a lot of teams coming in hot, or like, oh, they're going to go on a run. At the end of the day, this was what it was always meant to come down to, and these teams completely showed that. Like, they are on such an even level with each other. The best there is in the league right now, and again, to watch them go head to head like this it's just such a treat. It really is.
Yeah. At the start of the season, the betting favorites to win the Stanley Cup was number 1, Edmonton Oilers, number 2, Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
The people who do all the math, the nerds, the pencil pushers who do the math and say these are the best teams. I mean, sure, they said the two guys who got there last year, but they were right, weren't they?
Yeah, they were right at the end of the day.
So it makes a lot of sense.
Really have too much else to say on this. Again, it's a great game. Obviously, next week we'll have a bit more. We'll be a bit more into the series. We'll at least have games 2 and 3 complete, so we'll know a bit more of the series and have some more. But again, all in all, game 1, absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Another thing I don't believe we've mentioned, but a guy who was involved in that overtime winner, the worm himself, Corey Perry, great backhand pass. He did state the other day, before the game, I believe, that he will not be retiring after this season. He said he's not even really thought about retiring yet. And I mean, for a guy who's continued to be as good as he is, why would you?
Well,
Right?
and that's exactly it, right? Corey Perry is one of those guys that
You'd think he'd be exhausted after
never
going to, what is it, 6 finals in the last 7 years?
5 in the last 6.
5 in the last 6. Like, you'd
5.
think he'd be exhausted. You think this guy would just want to go home and lay the fuck down, but no, man,
But
he's good to
Corey
go.
Perry was always one of those guys that never, like, when he was in, more in his prime and was a, one of the better players in the league. It was never because he was the fastest or had the most skill. It's because of his work ethic and his play style, just being a bigger body, getting in there, mixing it up, crashing the net, like, just kind of being more of a power forward guy that didn't need speed. And it's worked for him since, kind of becoming more of a I want to say depth piece, but even with Edmonton, like he's, being one of their
He's playing
top
on the
guys.
first line.
And it works for him. And so when you're winning, you're getting these chances to win a cup. You're with a great group in Edmonton and things are working. Like, yeah, why would you? Like, if you got gas in the tank, you're still feeling good and healthy. It's just a dude who loves the game and wants to keep going. And you gotta love that when you've got players like this, because how many guys are we seeing, that are good players in the league, but once you hit that, 35, 36, 37 range, it's you're starting to get kind of pushed out of the league for younger talent.
40.
Mm-hmm.
He's 40,
and he's still
man.
playing at this level. It's really impressive.
Yeah,
It's awesome to see.
I think in 20 years' time, people are going to look back at Corey Perry similarly to how they look back at a guy like Steve Yzerman, how as he aged, Yzerman had to, he couldn't go out and put up 140 points in a season anymore. He had to be more of a two-way guy. He was getting Selke consideration. I think he won a couple. Like, he became a massive two-way force in the twilight of his career. And I think people are going to be able to look at Corey Perry a lot of the same. He still puts up, 30, 25, 40 points a season. And he's just such a shit disturber. He gets you so much value in other ways as well, that I think people are gonna in the future be able to look back at him and be like, that's how you want to be able to evolve your game. If what you're doing isn't working as well as it used to, change how you do it and reinvent yourself. And I think he's going to become a textbook example of that.
Yeah, that's a great way to sum it up there. Again, that is where we're at in the series. Edmonton is up 1-0 in the Stanley Cup Final with the Florida Panthers. I don't believe we got anything else on the list. I think this is a bit of a shorter episode.
Yeah.
Today.
We are going pretty short, so I do have one other thing. We don't have to talk about it very long, but I suppose it is worth mentioning. We do know that the, Bill Daly, Gary Bettman, the owners, and the NHLPA are in talks for the next CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. It has come out now, they mainly from Bill Daly and the NHL side of it, that they said they are not entertaining the idea of any new rules in the next CBA about changing how the taxes work, specifically towards the the states, Florida, Texas, those states that have no tax, that they will not be changing how that works to even the playing field. So, some people think it's a big deal. Some people think it's nothing. I imagine it's realistically somewhere in between. But
so
they did say that they're not going to be doing anything with that.
I'm kind of on the fence about it. Obviously it's something people always want to bring up in conversations when comparing teams and winning teams.
Especially here in Canada, because
you also look
much
at
more
it
taxes for it.
Edmonton went to 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals. Now, being in this situation, look at Toronto, potentially could have gone to some Stanley Cup Finals, but they're not in a position. It's because, all their star players would ask for this no matter where they go. Like, you just overpay guys and you can't have a deep enough team. But when you look at teams like, Dallas and Tampa and Florida specifically, like teams that have been very good the last few years, and have that no state tax. But you look at Dallas, and it's how good they are at drafting and developing talent. That's what's made them, the contract deep, but the team's deep because they're so good at draft and developing. You look at Tampa. Tampa, compared to these other teams, wasn't afraid to trade away their future, their top picks, prospects, to go out and grab these players that fit their team, like the Blake Colemans, like the Barclay Goodrows, etc. And they won.
We didn't even have to draft Yanni Gourde. He was a free agent. He was just undrafted.
And then Florida, they go out and make the move for a guy like Sam Reinhart that Buffalo's ready to get rid of. They go out and they claim a guy like Gustav Forsling off waivers. They go out and they grab a guy like Nico Mikko. I think they just signed him because the Rangers let him go. It's very similar to Tampa. They weren't afraid to make moves to improve their team. Yeah, sure, some guys are on good contracts, but they also sign those guys way in advance. Kind of similar to a Jack Hughes deal when they're starting to come up, but you can get them on that deal before they reach their peak. So does it help teams? Yeah, absolutely. Of course it does. But is it the main reason for the success that, these non-tax states have been having? No, because you can pinpoint all these things that they do that other teams don't, that are able to do, because it doesn't involve necessarily contract signings. It involves good scouting, good drafting, good developing.
Yeah.
Knowing what you need, going out and getting it, and not being afraid to pull the trigger on that move.
Yeah. So, and you know what? It's funny that you do say scouting, because it is what you're saying, but very differently for those three teams. Tampa and Dallas are so good at scouting these young players to find that next gem, drafting, what was it? Heiskanen, Robertson, and Ottinger in the same draft or something like that. Like, insane.
But outside
Tampa's so good at it. Florida,
prospects,
they're actually different. Do you know how many players are playing for the Panthers right now that they've drafted?
No.
3.
That makes sense. But
they drafted Barkov, Lundell, Mackie Samoskevich, I'll give it to you. He wasn't playing the other night, but he's in there. And Ekblad. All the rest of them are signed and traded. But that is still scouting. A lot of people don't seem to realize it's not as easy as opening Sports Center, the Score, and looking at their stats and going, he looks good, let's trade for him. No, they have I'll just say, the best in the league at NHL level scouting. They know who to go and get. People still talk about how much of a masterclass from Florida it was to get Matthew Tkachuk. They looked insane at the time. They traded a 115-point winger and their best defenseman and a first on top of that. Mm-hmm. That's so much to give up. How could you have predicted it would lead to 3 straight cup finals for him? Like, they were mad to make that.
They haven't won a cup with him yet, but people thought it was insane that they gave up 2 first-round picks for Brandon Hagel at the time. It was like, oh yeah, well, he's on a cheap deal, but people are like,
I thought they were crazy. I'd never heard of Hagel.
Third liner.
I texted you the morning that happened and said, who is this player? Should I be upset? Yeah. I was like looking at all his stats, like, I don't know.
Now he's going to be on one of the better contracts in the league. What did he have? Did he hit 80 points this year? He must have.
He had 90 points this year.
90 points. So there you go. So like, now you look at it, it's like, oh, I would give up 2 firsts for that all day. But that's because they did the scouting on him. They were going to watch, Blackhawks games. They were looking at this guy and seeing like, okay, he's a great player on a bad team. Let's put him with good players. And we know he's got the skill, he's got the tools, he plays the way we want. He fits perfectly with these guys, and it works perfectly. And so that's the biggest thing, right? Is there's scouting prospects, but then there's scouting guys in the league and then going out and getting those guys that fit. And even look at Edmonton. They did their homework on a guy like Jake Wallman, and he is fit perfectly on that blue line with that team and playing the exact way that he needs to, and he's capable of doing that.
You know who should have scouted Wallman? Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. Fuck, they should have. Yeah.
How does he play for you and you don't know what you have?
Yeah,
that
one's still just a massive head scratcher.
Just insane.
But, yeah, interesting. With the CBA,
what's his deal like? Do they have him for a term, or is he?
He's got 1 year left after this one.
1 year left. 3.4. That's crazy.
It is also worth noting with the CBA, there was talks about the NHL bringing in a play-in round for the playoffs, and Gary Bettman saying was kind of like, well, we had it. Like, the last few playoff spots came down to the wire the last 2 seasons. Like, people are talking about more of like an actual play-in round, and I don't think we get it anytime soon. I've always made it very clear. I'm open to that. I think it's fun. And I think that probably comes like if you expand the league more. Like if you get up to that 36 or potentially even 40 teams, I think you do need to bring that play-in round aspect, even if it's only for like top 6 make it, and then the next 4 they do a best out of 3 type of thing.
Can I just ask, because I don't generally have a strong opinion, what's the idea of the play-in round? Like I know how it works, but it's just kind of a why. Why? What's the draw for a play-in round?
Well, first of all, it's more money for the league.
For sure.
Definitely a good way to get eyes on it. And then I think it's more so to now that you've got more teams. Like we're at that point now where, what are we at? We're at 32? 32 teams. So it's like the top half gets in and the bottom half doesn't. But I think it's maybe more so for that. I think just to maybe create a little bit more excitement for the league more than anything, and maybe give a bit more of a chance to teams of like, like for the Flames, you missed by whatever 1 or 2 points, but it's like you're right in there. So it's like now you and this team, Calgary and St. Louis, you go head to head in a best of 3. Because I'm assuming that's probably what it'd be for a play-in, and also kind of rewards those teams more at the top of like regular season doesn't end you right into it. You get like a couple extra days break. I don't fully know.
You can't pull the parachute.
The full like reasoning
too early
type of thing. Why? But I think it would be great for the league to get more eyes on it, especially showcasing like, because you would have 2 or technically 4 mini series. So it's like every day you've got an Eastern game and then a Western game, and that's the only game on. And just bringing more eyes onto the league and getting people more invested of like ramping up to the playoffs, because it would be playoff level hockey between these teams. You lose 1 game and it's like, it's not like, we got potentially 6 more games. Like you got to go out there and win 2 in a row now. And so I think that would be.
This is something that the NHL is talking about. Did the NHLPA want this?
Put more eyes on the league.
Yeah, it would be great for people seeing it.
I think it's something that the fans really want.
It's just kind of been a thing that they brought up to see who's interested in general.
And especially I think with
because I feel like the players would probably not want this, if anything.
It's kind of like if you're expanding the league, you got to expand the playoffs.
Right.
Sort of. Like it's kind of goofy with like MLB. Like, yeah, the playoffs are sick, but it's also you look at it and it's like I don't think it's about I don't watch a lot of baseball, obviously, but I think it's about like a quarter of the league makes the playoffs. So, it's kind of like you got to be like one of the best to make. You can't even be like a decently good team like St. Louis to make it. Like you got to be one of the best to make it, and maybe it makes for more exciting first round matchups. But again, with hockey, like we've seen, anybody can win on any given night,
and
regardless of the talent or the
that right there is kind of why I'm hesitantly against it. I don't have a very strong opinion, but the idea of a 3-game series, you only need to win 2 games. Hockey is, takes a lot of skill, a lot of effort, but it is kind of like one of the bigger luck-based, of the major sports, because we're all skating around on knife shoes, throwing vulcanized rubber at the net at 100 miles an hour. It can bounce anywhere. It goes off the stanchion and in. Like, you can't accidentally get a touchdown like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, just having a great team get eliminated because another team beat them in 2 games.
But is it though? Because was St. Louis that much better than a Calgary? Or maybe Vancouver actually.
I get it. Just like it's not anything against the teams that just miss out. It's more that like I'm imagining being a fan of the team that makes the playoffs and then they lose in that and they don't even get to the first round, and it's like that does suck.
That's because you were
after
so close.
82 games
because of how close the teams are at the end now. Like you look at instead of
but at that point, why not just expand it to 18 teams in the playoffs or 20?
Because then you run into that you have to give teams a first round bye, and I think that's too much of an advantage.
I definitely think they should never do bye weeks or bye rounds.
They shouldn't.
Shouldn't, yeah. No,
Okay, yeah.
absolutely
So
not.
that's what I'm saying. That's why you can't really bump it to the 18 or 20 because then because of the way it has to work for matchups, a team would get a bye. And that's why I'm saying the
Would
playing
they?
round is kind of the only, yeah. Well, yeah, because if you bump it up to say 10 teams, you can't have 5 series on each side because then you've got a team that you'd have 5 teams move on and you would have an imbalance. Eventually you'd have 3 teams or like it wouldn't work. You'd have to go to
I see.
you'd have
You'd
to have
have to
8 series. So
you'd have to
like
move it up to
or
20 teams instead of 18
ye-
for it to work.
not
You
even
need because it would be an
because
extra
then
series on each side.
you need an extra
Would it have to be 24?
yeah.
Hmm.
So it's more the thing of like you look at last year with how close it was in the East and even this year and then the West. Instead of Detroit being like, hey, you clawed back to get in your spot, but you didn't make it because Philly pulled their goalie and got scored on. Now it's like instead of that, oh, you're now playing Philly in the play-in round. The team that, in normal circumstances would have been the reason you got eliminated. Now you get to go head to head with them in a best of 3. And you're fighting for your life just to get in.
I can see the appeal. I just don't think it's really something
fun.
that
I don't think the
needs
league
to
needs
be in.
it, but I think it would make it more
I definitely think
exciting.
they need to change the playoff format. Specifically, I think each division gets 1 safe spot, and that's it. I don't love the idea of division safe spots, but I think you need 1 because, you get something for winning your division. But if I'm second best in the Metro, but if I was in the Atlantic, I'd be 8th, I don't think I should be making the playoffs.
But that wouldn't happen, though.
No, but like we're getting close enough that we should probably make the rule for it.
But again, you put in the play-in, you could have 3 Metro teams in, 3 Atlantic, but then you could have 4 Atlantic teams doing the play-in. Like that's a possibility, but it removes that of like you were the 6th best, or what would it be? Yeah, you'd have to be the 6th best team in the Atlantic, and you're better than 6 of the 8 Metro teams, but you don't make it. But now it's like you get a chance. It's a play-in, so it's a quick go. You got to win or you're done type of thing. But it gives it more of a chance, I guess, type of thing.
Yeah.
I just think just because it just brings eyes to the league, and
that's fair.
Seeing how much the game has grown and the atmosphere and whatnot because of the 4 nations, it's like doing the play-in, you get that every year now.
Well, you know what? The league should have grown, really, because ratings, as far as like retention and stuff, have gone up a good amount this year. People are loving the hockey they watch. The NHL did release their overall viewership numbers the other day, though. They are down 12% compared to last year.
Really?
Yeah. And fortunately, we both live in Canada. We have easier access, especially our area in Canada, where we can just buy, what is it, Sportsnet Plus? Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
And we watch, I can watch all 82 games for the Lightning and all the playoff games for them, and any other teams for the one package. In the States, hearing these people talk about it, oh my fucking God, no wonder the numbers are down. These people explaining that they have to get fucking Victory Plus, they have to have cable and get 3 separate channels and get like 4 other different streaming services, and all of that gets it so they can watch like 65 of their team's 82 games because the rest are blacked out. It's like, that sounds so exhausting.
Well, it's even like up here in Canada for, the NFL season. I can get every single NFL game all on one service. $30 a month. I can watch every, football game, whether it's on a Thursday, the occasional Saturday or Fridays, Sunday, Monday games, playoff, Super Bowl, all of it. $30 a month. There's a thing in the States. If you want to be able to have access to every single NFL game, I think it's going to cost you a little over like $1,100 for the entire season.
Like fucking hell.
And it's like that's why the numbers down, because there's so many different providers and
no wonder everybody goes to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch their fucking games. They go to the whatever local bar because it's cheaper to go eat wings and watch there than pay to have it at your house.
And that's exactly it. So
they only have 18 games a season. 17 if your team has the bye week, probably.
That's kind of a big reason of it. It's not like the games necessarily dying or people aren't interested. It's just especially
exactly
not
it.
accessible to people.
It's not accessible.
They
The
can't
game has
afford
gotten
that.
drastically better this year. I think anybody who's watched, I mean, the retention numbers speak for themselves. People are enjoying the hockey they're watching more.
Mhm.
It's jumping through a million hoops. Bro, nobody cares. Don't give cable exclusive rights. Bro, cable's old ass. I'm sorry, cable's old ass. Nobody cares. Get a streaming service. Get the NHL streaming service.
But
Let's
right now,
face it, you
cable
can
is cheaper until they create that product or service where you can enact a subscription to get it on the States. Cable is more accessible and cheaper.
It's cheaper, but it doesn't have everything you want. You'll get like
You
40
get the
games.
most bang for your buck though with it is what I'm
Yeah.
getting, that type of thing. Until they create an actual service where you can get all of it, cable actually is the best way to go if you're trying to get as much.
Yeah. And that's why the
NHL
viewership is
action
down,
for
because
your
so many
money.
people don't want to go for the cable, despite it being the best. They make cable the best option on purpose because that's what they want people to go for. But
Yeah.
very few consumers want to have cable. The ones who still have it because that's all they can get some of their favorite programming on.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it would be in great interest for the NHL to get something going on some sort of streaming service. Like,
but I mean, to go back to the original thing, if there is a play-in, I'm all for it. I think it should be included, especially if the league does expand, because I'm just a thing of like,
no current plans to expand either, they said, but they are open to hearing owners.
They will eventually,
if
the money's there.
Yeah, they said currently.
Yeah.
They did say they're open to it, but they're not going out looking for it. They're not like, we have 33 expansion waiting. Like, they're like, if you're rich as fuck, you have an arena and you're based in Houston or Atlanta or something, give us a call. Basically is what it sounded like. But otherwise, they're not planning.
Yeah, they're not active going out and looking, but if there's offers there, of course they're not
gonna turn down a guy sitting there saying, I've got $2 billion burning a hole in my pocket.
Exactly.
Not many people are gonna tell that guy to pound sand.
But yeah, I'm all for it if it happens. I think it's fun. It makes it more exciting, especially, I don't know, just the thought of like, that fucking the worst team in the play-in squeaks in the playoffs and then maybe goes on or something. Like, yeah, because they easily could, especially with how close the league is now in the parity. I don't know. I think it just makes it a bit more fun, and it maybe gives San Jose in a couple years better chance of making the playoffs or getting in at least. So, fuck it, sign me up. It's all about me.
Yeah, something's got to be.
But I think that is about it for this episode. Again, not too much going on currently in the league outside of the Stanley Cup Final. And again, we're only one game in, so come next week we'll have games 2 and 3 we can dive into, and potentially some more news around the league, and we'll see what goes there. But that is it for this episode. Once again, hope you all enjoyed it. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the Stanley Cup Final so far as much as we are. If you want to join in on the hockey talk, let us know your thoughts on Game 1 or how this series is looking. You can do so by reaching out to us through any of our socials. The links to all of our socials are in the description across all episodes, across all platforms. And as always, Braden, you know what time it is. Everybody at home knows what time it is. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Man, I hope Game 2 delivers just as much as Game 1. Had a great time watching it.
Yeah,
Run it back.
Awesome. Hoping for a lot of the same. And to wrap this episode up, once again, I want to say a big congratulations to Kucherov Monahan, the definition of a warrior, as a friend, as a teammate, as a player. One of the best there is, and hope he's doing well. Send him warm wishes and congratulations. But that will wrap it up for this episode. And as always, we will see all of you out on the ice next week.